Hi there, everybody. It's Wendy Hernandez, and welcome to the Command the Courtroom show. Today, I have a really special guest for you, Dr. Ameet. And Dr. Ameet is a very accomplished naturopathic doctor. He's a psychotherapist, he's a homeopath, EMDR, and family constellations therapist. He's the best-selling author of Heal Your Body, Cure Your Mind. It's available in 6 languages. You can get it on Amazon. It has fantastic reviews. You have to check it out. And we're going to talk more about that during the interview. Dr. Ameet was voted one of the top 43 therapists worldwide. And today, he and I are going to talk about, as you navigate through your case, if you're a victim of abuse or you suffer from PTSD, how you can get through your case and deal with the effects that you're experiencing and go on to heal your body and cure your mind. So thank you, Dr. Ameet, for being here with us today, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Wendy, and thanks everyone for tuning in. I just want to connect with your heart with a pulse of love as you're listening, so thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ameet. So you and I were talking for a few minutes offline, and I was describing the people who listen to my show, who watch my show, and also the types of clients that I deal with on a daily basis. And as you know, I'm a family law attorney, and I deal with a lot of clients who are victims of abuse. And who I'm working with and who are now trying to navigate a case on their own, or being single parents and also now co-parent with somebody who's an abuser. And what I've experienced is a lot of my clients, and I know a lot of people who listen to this show, sometimes feel overwhelmed by the effects of the abuse. For example, they might feel depressed, they might feel anxious. A lot of them have, I know, physical issues. I know one of them suffers from chronic physical issues, one of my viewers who's listening right now. And so I, really wanted to have you on the show to talk with all of us about how people can navigate through the trauma to get through their case and get on to heal their lives. And I know you discussed this within your book. So can you talk a little bit about why trauma might cause some of these effects like depression, anxiety, loss of memory, PTSD, etc.?
Absolutely. So trauma is a big event in your life. Yeah. It's a sense of being overwhelmed and inability to cope sometimes. Trauma is what happens to us from the outside and also within you, right? So often people think it's the sexual abuse or the physical abuse, but also look what happens within you. There's dissociation, there's fear, there's rejection, there's negative thinking, there's a drop in self-esteem, right? There's a collapse of your personality, there's a change in behavior. Yeah, so those are all elements of trauma as well that you have to cope with as you try and find your way back to your authentic original self and a sense of self-love and confidence. And this space that you're in of being traumatized, you go through a lot of loss of self-worth, a lot of self-doubt, and you make the wrong decisions, or you're scared of making the decisions because you don't trust yourself anymore. And you feel this lack of support in your life. It's like, oh gosh, am I doing the right thing or not? Because your foundation has been broken, or you don't have the support or background of either your family or your ancestors or any family energy or support, really. And so that leaves this empty feeling or lack of self-confidence. And in that gap, then it's really hard to move forward because it's like you're grasping for information, but your soul, your body is so scared of, clicking that button or making the decision or writing that sentence down because other intrusive thoughts creep in. And I'll explain why all this happens. Okay.
Yes, please.
So when you're traumatized, any experience that feels threatening to you or overwhelming sends you in what we call a fight or flight response. And the fight or flight response is your way of escaping from danger, right? Or your way of running away from the threatening lion in the old days. And the fight or flight response basically gets your body to produce adrenaline and cortisol, these hormones, and produced by your adrenal glands. And unfortunately, people in abusive marriages and abusive relationships are stuck in them for a very long time. And they might or might not also have a history of childhood trauma, what we call adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. And these childhood traumas, when left unresolved, plus the trauma of abusive relationships and non-working marriages and the stigma of divorce, etc., and financial stresses, all of these compound onto your nervous system and they burn your nervous system out. And you go into what we call adrenal fatigue or just burnout. And when that happens, basically the chemical messages, the cortisol and adrenaline that's meant to be produced in a nice rhythm in your body, now gets disrupted, distorted. And you get a cortisol and adrenaline imbalance. And when that happens, all your brain chemicals start dropping serotonin, dopamine, melatonin, and GABA. These are brain chemicals that help fight depression, anxiety, insomnia, chronic fatigue, etc. And also motivation, low motivation. So when these start dropping, you go into these OCD behaviors, self-doubt, low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, tearfulness, and small tasks now feel overwhelming for you. So you break down in tears easily, feeling of unsupport or ungroundedness, yeah, because you're depleted. And there's things you can easily do to fix this. And I talk about this in the book and the online course, and I'll give you some of the tips, yeah?
Oh, please. Wonderful. I mean, all of this is resonating with me so much because I watch my clients go through this. I hear about this from my viewers. So thank you. I mean, thank you for connecting the dots and helping at least me understand what's going on. I know you're helping others. So please, let's talk more about some of the tips that you put in your book or that you have in your book and your course about how people can start healing themselves.
Okay. First things first is, of course, to heal the trauma. Yeah. So as a psychotherapist, I use EMDR, family constellation therapy, other psychotherapies to release the trauma because that trauma is embedded in the nervous system and is controlling your response to life, to your belief systems, to the way you receive information from other people, the way you engage with your ex-partner, the way you engage with your family or your parents, etc. Right? And because you're traumatized, you might feel weaker or more angry or insecure or compensated. And all of these things drive your adrenal glands to burn out further. Yeah. So very important is to do some simple tapping techniques, emotional freedom technique. I use EMDR where we move the eyes from side to side and say certain sentences. Of course, there you need a qualified therapist. I'm happy to do online work with people, of course. And the other thing is also something I use often is called the havening technique, a brilliant technique where you imagine like a beautiful scenery, like a forest or the ocean or somewhere where you feel really supported. And as you're imagining this, I'm simplifying it, but I just want to let people know that there's really useful techniques out there that resolve trauma, which is very different from psychology, which puts you in analysis mode. Yeah. So I do more trauma release and embodiment techniques and somatic experiencing techniques that release trauma rather than send you in an analysis mode in your mind that doesn't let your body rest.
Okay.
So the havening technique is another technique that I love where, so you imagine this beautiful scene and then you start rubbing your arms up and down, right? Just like you'd be, as a baby, a lot of babies, when you're young or something, you're comforted this way. And the therapist will ask you to close your eyes and imagine the scene. And I'll count from 1 to 10 really slowly. And with each count, I'll ask you to take a step in this scene or notice something beautiful or comforting in the scene. It could be a flower, it could be the sunset, it could be a dolphin, whatever it may be. And as you're doing this technique and the counting, it helps the frontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain, connect with the emotional memory, the emotional charge of the old stuff in the past. And there's a resolution that takes place. It takes you out of the fight or flight state. And your nervous system calms down. And when your nervous system calms down, your adrenal glands have a chance to rest. And when they rest, then they build up slowly. And when they build up slowly, then your cortisol levels come into balance. Then your brain chemicals come into balance. And that's one way of treating the root cause of anxiety and depression, is to remove the traumatizing information from your nervous system that's driving you deeper and deeper into anxiety and depression. Yeah, rather than relying on pills and supplements, etc. And I'll get to supplements because those are super important as well. But it's very important to resolve the emotional charge.
May I ask a question about that? So this technique that you just described, is this a technique that would help somebody when they are experiencing an overwhelming moment, if they're shutting down, or is it something that's effective over time, only over time, or both? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say both. I would say both because it does reduce overwhelm, especially when you've done it properly with a therapist first, and then you can practice it on your own time. And
Yeah.
then long term, also, yes, because as you continue doing this and your body feels safer and safer and further away from the danger of the memories, the painful memories, yeah, that sense of being further away or safer, then rewires your brain automatically. You get a different perspective, a paradigm shift, and like, okay, hang on a sec, I'm not under threat anymore, or I realize how closed up I was or guarded I was. And that relaxation then changes the nervous response in your entire body. And then you go on living a bit differently. And each day, as you heal and you go on living differently and create more trust, then you stop the fight or flight response going on that's sending your adrenal glands into fatigue. And then you're more likely to stabilize your brain chemicals, your cortisol levels, and then therefore your brain chemicals.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. And then I combine that therapy then with naturopathic medicine, where we use herbs and supplements to stabilize the adrenal system. Yeah, because they need nourishment now because they're burnt out and depleted. So only therapy does not work from what I've seen personally. They need to be rebuilt.
Okay. So with the adrenals, are there signs and symptoms that somebody is suffering from adrenal fatigue besides the anxiety, the depression, the sleeplessness? Or if somebody's experiencing the anxiety, the depression, the sleeplessness, can they be sure, yes, I'm suffering from adrenal fatigue? Or does it depend?
It depends. It depends.
Yeah.
And that's where it's important to see a naturopathic doctor as well,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And because their self-diagnosis just sends you in a loop of like Google searching supplements and you're popping this supplement, that supplement, but you're not really treating the root cause. Yeah.
Okay.
And then people end up just getting disappointed sometimes. Sometimes they get help, but sometimes they get disappointed or they're on supplements for too long.
Yes.
Somebody in anxiety and depression from an acute trauma, but they've had a stable life generally and they're not fatigued beforehand, then I wouldn't say they're in adrenal fatigue. They just need to come out of that shock and trauma.
Oh,
Yeah. But
got
people
it.
in continuous trauma and stress and financial issues and hard work, whatever, they're likely burnt out and they might be carrying adrenal fatigue.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
The other thing that contributes to adrenal fatigue is the diet and inflammation and toxicity. And that's where people make a mistake of only taking adrenal supplements or only going for therapy, right?
Okay.
Because you see what happens is another thing stresses your mind, your brain chemicals, and your adrenal glands, and that's inflammation. Now, inflammation comes from the foods you eat and from the health of your intestines, your gut. Your gut is like a tube, a nice lining kept healthy by good bacteria and good food. Over time, with antibiotic use, poor diet, etc., this lining gets damaged, the good bacteria get killed off, then you get holes in your intestine. Toxins leak into your bloodstream, cause inflammation everywhere, leading cause for asthma, eczema, arthritis, all these chronic conditions.
Oh, wow.
Right. And then the chronic inflammation requires cortisol from your adrenal glands. So chronic inflammation also stresses your adrenal glands to produce cortisol, and therefore your adrenal glands burn out. So inflammation plus chronic stress plus unresolved trauma, which is stuck in your brain and driving you crazy, all these things plummet your adrenal glands into just exhaustion. And so you get this burnout feeling, fatigue, depression, lack of will to live, lack of will to function, low performance, anxiety, etc. And also then this inflammation creates toxins which go to the liver. And your liver is the master control of hormones and other brain chemicals. And a lot of your brain chemicals are actually produced in your gut, not your brain. They're produced by the good bacteria in your gut. So now you got a compromised gut, so compromised brain chemical levels. Then you got a toxic liver. And then when your liver is toxic, it produces less bile. So then with less bile, your gut health is even worse because bile is this beautiful juice that helps with digestion. So now the chemical production in your gut and therefore brain chemical production is all messed up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that makes sense.
And then the liver controls the hormones. And so when the liver is all stagnated or toxic, then you get a hormonal imbalance, usually progesterone deficiency or estrogen excess. Then a lot of women will get PMS symptoms and worsening anxiety, sadness, depression, insomnia, etc.
Yep.
It's really about healing the mind and body together. Very, very important.
Yes. So, yes, you just stated it perfectly. It's not just one thing. We as humans are a whole system. And if we're looking to heal ourselves, we can't just look to the mind or the body. We need to take kind of an integrated approach. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why it's important to see a naturopath and a psychotherapist together. Yeah. Or a naturopath who practice psychotherapy. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Yes.
you have to heal and release emotional trauma for your nervous system to resolve. Then you got to build up your body, clean out your gut, clean out your liver, nourish your adrenal system. Then you get more stabilized. Then you make better decisions for yourself. Your confidence returns. You can say stop to the abuser. You can leave the abuser easily. You can communicate differently with your parents and say, look, I need the support. Don't shame me, please. A lot of cultures have a lot of shame around divorce and being alone and being a single person. Yeah.
Yes.
And all these belief systems can be worked on so that you regain that sense of self-confidence really and certainty in yourself, and you learn how to speak the right language to get the right type of support. Because a lot of people's lives are miserable because of the lack of support in the right way of communicating. Once the right language comes out of your mouth, you have the right type of impact on a person, your life changes.
Yes. Okay. I agree 100%. So question for the person who's watching this and right now is feeling overwhelmed and they're thinking, oh my gosh, I have to find a naturopath. Oh my gosh. I have to go to psychotherapy. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's too much, because I feel like there might be somebody out there and I agree with you. I agree with you 1,000%. What would you say to that person who's right now having anxiety because they feel like it's another couple of things they have to add to their list and they're going through a divorce or they're going through a custody battle and they can't keep it together?
Okay. So I've made it really simple. A couple of things. I've got some free exercises on my website. You're welcome to go there. It's some deep emotional healing exercises and just a summary of how to start healing your gut and your liver. Yeah. And I think you have the link there, drameet.com, drameet.com.
Yes.
You start with that. Yeah. And there's a lovely exercise. I'll show you right now how it goes, and then it goes deeper in the videos. You can do this. You can put your one hand here, one hand behind your head. Okay. This helps connect the different hemispheres of your brain. It's based on a technique called tapas. And then you take a couple of deep breaths in and out, just calming yourself down. And then I've added this technique. I think I just channeled it. I'm not sure how it came. But what I get my clients to say is, it's safe to feel tired from time to time. And it's safe to feel scared from time to time. It's safe to relax once in a while. So I'll use the words that I pick up that the client might be feeling. And I'll ask the client to use words that they're feeling. And you can use both quote unquote negative words like exhausted, paranoid, fearful, freaked out, as well as relaxed, comfortable, releasing, and always end the sentence with once in a while. That's really important because these are not affirmations where we're trying to force ourselves to think differently. It's giving our body and our mind permission to experience the full spectrum of where our emotions want to go.
Oh my gosh.
Because when you allow the release, when you allow the mind to experience the full spectrum, then there's less resistance. And when you have less resistance, you actually go to the resolution of the emotion that you're struggling against. Yes. What you resist persists, but when you allow it and you say once in a while, and it's safe once in a while, you have the strength to not feel it and feel it at the same time. And automatically your body just starts getting more comfortable with it. And then it's less permeating or penetrating into your mind after a while.
And I did that in my head and I instantly felt like a release or relaxation. Question. So if somebody's doing this exercise, should they be repeating the phrase in their head or out loud?
Depends on the person. Some people
Okay.
prefer to say it silently. I experiment both loudly and in silence and see which one works best. I
Okay.
prefer saying it out loudly, to be honest. And obviously, don't do this while driving or operating machinery.
That's a good disclaimer.
Um, but just try it out and see which one works for you. Ending with once in a while from time to time. And then there's deeper sentences on the website. Just sign up for the free video course there, and it'll guide you through, some deeper emotions that really touch and support your vulnerability.
Okay. Excellent. So, all right. So you have the course on the website, which is free. And does the course also delve into um, physical, the things you were describing with the gut, for
Yeah.
example, and what are some, quick things that a person can do to start shifting it around physically if they can't get to a naturopath right away?
Yeah. So the course is free, and then there's a deeper course, of course, people are welcome to purchase, that helps my community projects in Kenya. The free introduction does help you start healing your gut, detoxifying your liver, etc. The first thing to heal your gut is to reduce inflammation, and that's by changing the diet. Avoiding inflammatory foods. Typically, it's dairy or gluten for a lot of
Mm.
people. Yeah, and so you can find out how to do this by writing a diet diary, for example, and seeing what triggers you, what kind of foods trigger you, and then, of course, also cleaning up your liver, so having more bitter foods, because you
Mm.
need to flush your liver. A lot of people make the mistake of only taking probiotics and going on strict diets without cleaning their liver, and
Oh.
they fail in healing inflammation in their gut, because the liver is the master controller of most of your organs, and it
Oh.
produces a very important juice, this digestive juice called bile, and it activates your hormones, it activates your immune cells, it stores glucose, it stores your vitamins, it does a lot of things. And when you ignore your liver, the seat of your health, a lot of problems surface.
Okay. So a couple questions. I had a question earlier when you were talking about the intestines and leaky gut. Can people fix that? Is it once you have holes, can they be repaired?
Yeah, it's not really holes per se, it's just an excessive permeability. And
Okay.
your gut lining has all your immune cells. Most of you, 70% of your immune system is in your gut. And there's a nice mucosal layer that lines your gut. But when that layer gets a bit disrupted, then your immune system is exposed to a lot of toxins and undigested food particles. And that also triggers an immune response. So yes, you can heal it by one, changing your diet. And then I talk about different supplements, etc., in the online course and in my book that you can use to heal your gut even further. Yeah. Probiotics is something that people typically use, of course. And then there's other supplements like vitamin D and special amino acids you can use to really balance your gut
Okay.
and minimize leaky gut.
Okay. So when people take this integrated approach towards healing their whole person, um,
Mhm.
can they expect to rediscover who they are?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm smiling because I'm getting chills right through my body because of the stories I've heard from clients of mine, from people who've taken the course, you know, messages from around the world about the book. I live in Kenya, so it's a gift to receive messages from all over the place. Um, Absolutely. Because remember, the state you're in is not your personality. Yeah, you're anxious or depressed because you've been traumatized, you've been overwhelmed, you've gone through too much in life. Yeah. And what you're carrying, the baggage of the past, the baggage for other people, feelings, the anger of your partner, the abandonment by your parents, etc. All these are stories and baggages that once you start releasing them and finding security in your own sense of well-being, in your own nervous system, in your own sense of energy, and you optimize the health of your body and therefore your brain chemicals, you're going to feel a lot better, right? And when you get that confidence coming back, you start trusting yourself more, you start believing yourself more, you start saying the right words, you start attracting the right relationships, right? You start hanging around with the right people. And so, yes, it's amazing. I love it when people really get their emotional resilience and their personality back, or a healthier version of themselves back.
Awesome. I love it. So whoever's watching this and needed to hear Dr. Ameet's message, this isn't all there is. This isn't all that he has to offer. Remember to go check out his book, Heal Your Body, Cure Your Mind. It's available on Amazon. And I looked at the reviews again, and they're amazing. He has the free online course, and it sounds like there's some other courses that you can take with him. But, and try out those exercises. If you're in a moment and you need to immediately calm yourself, I'm surely going to do it. So, Dr. Ameet, thank you so much for sharing your time with us, your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience. I know it's going to find the person or the people who need it. And quickly, how can people find you?
So it's drameet.com. Hopefully you can just put the link in.
I will. I absolutely will.
And then what's coming to me intuitively is also deep breathing. Deep breathing is very important because it calms your nervous system down. Then check out something called alternate nostril breathing. It's in the book, actually.
Okay.
That comes, it's like you breathe in, switch your nostril, breathe out. Breathe in, switch your nostril, breathe out. And that really balances your nervous system. And deep breathing is super important also because it stimulates what we call the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is this huge nerve in your body that controls all your organs and your sense of well-being, etc. Mm-hmm. And the more you can calm that down, the more your body will heal as well.
Okay, much. You guys, so take these tips as you're going through your case and you're feeling stressed out, feeling freaked out, you're having a moment of anxiety, overwhelm. Start with these exercises, the deep breathing, and was it the Haven exercise? Did I say that right?
Haven technique, I would definitely see a therapist with that to help guide you through the right emotions, the right technique.
Okay.
For sure. Then I also use EMDR, which is one of the best I've seen for trauma release, combined with Havening technique.
Okay.
So I think definitely start calming yourself down with some tapping, with some of these techniques in a mild way. But severe trauma, I always encourage clients to see a therapist because they can hold the space and the container in the right way, rather than you feeling a bit overwhelmed with the trauma when it comes up, or unsupported, or in your own mind. Yeah, a therapist has outside perspective and can really reflect back to you your experience, so you have some contact with the outside world, and that contact with the outside world helps you reintegrate with life.
Got it. Okay. And so, Dr. Ameet, you're available for online consultation, one-on-one too?
I am. Okay. I am. And of course, there's wonderful therapists all over the world.
Excellent.
And I'm sure in your town as well, if you prefer somebody face-to-face. But definitely, you're more than welcome to do online sessions. It works amazing.
All right. This was wonderful. Thank you so much. And so, you guys, I hope you check out more of Dr. Ameet. And until next time, you just remember to keep on trucking, you guys, and get out there and command the courtroom. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Thank you. And love yourself lots.
Yes. Yes. Love yourselves. Love yourself. Yes. Thank you. I needed to hear that too. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.